Brian Robb, J. King, and Sam Packard present Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Boston Texas Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. Oh yeah! Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Boston Texas Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. And a 19. Chill around, you white crazy Joe. Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. When Tatum coming back? Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. Boston Texas Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. Oh yeah!
Come on, Long. I want some wings. Don't get the next generation.
Let's go,
Your family,
Celtics. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
family.
Celtics, let's go.
What up? What up? It's me, Jay King from The Athletic, here with Brian Robb from MassLive.com. Together, we are still Potable, the greatest Celtics podcast ever. We are a Monday through Friday show. If you want to get all our episodes, sign up at our Patreon page, patreon.com/stillpotable. If you want to just do the free shows, we do 2 per week here on the CLNS network. Today, we are presented by Prize Picks. The playoffs are coming, B-Rob.
Let's go.
It's finally here. Actually, this regular season felt like it flew by.
It's true.
It was an interesting season to cover because there was like never a lull. Normally you hit a point during the regular season where it's just kind of like, this feels stale. Nothing new is happening. And this season was never like that. Obviously, start of the season, there were so many questions. What's the front court going to be like? Is it going to be the worst front court in the history of Western civilization? Who's going to emerge out of the backup wings? Turned out everybody. How do Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard handle being on a team without half the rotation from the previous year, with no Jason Tatum? Then it was like, oh, some of these young guys can play. Neemias Queta is pretty good. Luka Garza, he's all right. And then it's like Joe Mazzulla, he's a maniac this year, even more of a maniac than usual. He's yanking guys out of a preseason game whenever they give up an offensive rebound to the other team. And yeah, then just when you think it might hit a lull, they trade Anthony Simons, pick up Nikola Vucevic. A month later, Jason Tatum comes back. We've had fresh stuff to talk about all season long, and now the playoffs are here, baby.
And it's
Crazy
been
year.
surprising. It is. And it's been like all the stuff you mentioned, there's a lot of mystery to it, and a lot of not guys like fading back, but just more like for the wing situations, like someone new just emerged every 3 or 4 weeks and took over the top bench spot, or just took over, took advantage of an opportunity when someone went down. So that we haven't had a lot, like the last 2 or 3 years, everything's been pretty set in stone with the rotation, things like that. So it was fascinating to see a different twist on that this year. I agree 100% with you on that. And for Celtics fans, it's been a pretty amazing ride to this point.
How far have the Celtics come? Like, I can remember early this year being like, Josh Minott is an absolute keeper. Cannot keep him out of the rotation. He is essential to everything they do. That turned out to be a slight overreaction. I still think he's going to have a pretty good career.
He's played well with the Nets.
He's played well with the Nets. The Celtics just had so many other wings that he had no place. Even Ron Harper Jr. jumped him in the rotation. Salute to Ron Harper Jr. But yeah, almost everything went right for the Celtics this year. They have not whiffed on anything. I guess the door is open to the Vucevic trade and the acquisition there. Whether that will be a good thing, whether it will potentially hurt them because he takes Garza's minutes, we'll see. We'll see. I'm still open to the idea, as we've discussed here, that Vucevic will end up being a big help. Will give them, a different dynamic with his passing, and that they'll be able to figure out a little more how to incorporate him with this extra week of practice time before the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see. But other than that, every young wing can play. I had no clue any of them could. Certainly had no faith that like Baylor Shireman and Jordan Walsh and Hugo Gonzalez, even Ron Harper Jr., like if you put them in a playoff game, I would trust all those guys. Now, will they make some mistakes? Sure. Will they maybe go on a cold streak from three-point arc? Maybe. But they can all guard. They all crash from the corners every single time. They all play with elite energy every night. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard. The unsung story of the year is that all those guys not only played really well, but also played almost every night. The Celtics, like they were a lot deeper than we ever expected, but they needed a lot from those guys, and those guys just carried the heavy burden the whole year long. Salute to them. They came ready. They knew what the job was. They knew how badly the team needed them on the court, and they lived up to it. They lived up to it.
It's been the sneaky strength of this team for a while, is the durability. And that obviously started with Tatum before his injury this past year, but White, Pritchard have been on that for their entire career. And Jaylen obviously dealt with the knee stuff last year, but by and large, he's been a super available guy throughout his career and took a lot of pride in that this year too. And so, yeah, that's a huge part of the story here, and a huge part of, I think, why we didn't think they would be taking a huge dip this year. But they certainly surpassed our expectations for the regular season, and now the stage is set. And don't forget Delano Banton now making his triumphant return for the playoffs here.
Do not forget Delano Banton.
What a nice deal for this is a nice little reunion story. Bring Delano back. He got traded off the 2024 title team for pretty much for Xavier Tillman, and I'm sure he did get his ring for that. But now,
can Delano Banton get another ring?
Redemption.
And be along for the ride for this ring? That's a big question.
Is Charles Bassey going to get a ring if they win this one? I don't know. The 10-day guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they draw the line there.
That's tough. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. That'll be a fun.
Yeah, shout out to Delano Banton. He must be somebody they like having around, because they've now brought him back twice.
They couldn't sign him. They gave him the first 10-day, and they're like, listen, Delano, we can't really sign you till the end of the season, so sit tight. Or if you get another deal, go for it, but we might call you back. And they called him back. So now that's an extra fun guy. They obviously, like I said, they must. Everyone they've brought in, they've had some sort of familiarity with this year, amongst it's like the free agent filling slots where there's two-way guys. Bassey obviously spent some time with them this summer. So that's been a pretty crucial part of the equation here of how they're trying to fit the end of the bench.
Yeah, it seems like they don't want to rock the boat. They know they have a good thing going. And Brad Stevens obviously, and Joe Mazzulla obviously put like a huge premium on having a good locker room. And they don't want to ruin what this team has, because obviously everybody's bought in, everybody's committed to winning, everybody has put aside their own agenda to help the team. Like, you look at Luka Garza, guy was playing for the first time ever in his life, real minutes. Vucevic comes in and he just cheers for everything Vucevic does. Like, he's up on the bench applauding, being a great teammate no matter what. And that's the type of locker room they want to preserve. And they know Delano Banton can be part of that because they've seen it before. So shout out to Delano Banton. Do not forget about Delano Banton. Is there anything you're still like, I guess this is the answer to this is obvious, but is there anything you're worried about heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, the backup center minutes are the
Is that
number
your
one.
only worry?
That's my main worry. I don't think that's the only worry. Secondarily, it's like, how do the inexperienced wings, and I guess Nemi, if you want to just throw in him, he's in a different equation, obviously, from the backup center, but how the inexperienced playoff guys handle the bright lights, I think, is number two. The encouraging part from that, from my standpoint, Jay, is that in the regular season, all those guys came to play against playoff opponents. There wasn't a lot of times where they were shrinking from the moment, but regular season basketball is not playoff basketball, and there's going to be a different level of intensity. But the way a lot of these guys play, whether it's Shireman, Walsh, Ugo, Nemi throughout the season, like, they've been, their effort and want factor should play right into what the playoffs are, and they'll, I think, be able to reach it. Whether they are able to produce on that standpoint will be, I guess, the bigger question.
Yeah. There's so much inexperience, playoff inexperience on the roster. It's like a weird split between guys who have won in the playoffs as much as any core has together, with Tatum, Brown, White, Pritchard, Hauser, and then nobody else has played legitimate playoff minutes ever. like Ugo will be playing in the playoffs for the first time ever. Did Shireman play at all last year in the playoffs? If he did, it was garbage time.
Right.
Walsh, same thing. Luka Garza, never been part of a playoff rotation before. Nikola Vucevic, like, how many times has he made the playoffs in his career?
I believe 3.
Not very many.
I don't think he's been in a first round series that's gone more than 5 games. He's gotten spanked by the Bucks a bunch of times when he's with the Bulls, and then maybe
spanked by the Bucks. So he played his rookie year. Philadelphia ended up playing Boston in the second round.
That's right.
Very good 7-game series. But Vucevic was a rookie. He played 1 game in that run. I don't know whether he got hurt or whether he was just out of the rotation.
I think that was a bad decision.
Sorry for not doing a deep dive on that.
we have to revisit that series. Vuce, 14 years later. But I do believe that Doug Collins went in another direction that series. And I remember we saw a lot of Elton Brand in that series, if memory serves. And I think he just went away from Vuce, even though he was a contributor during a lot of that regular season for the Sixers.
Yeah, and then other than that, he was just on those Orlando teams that were destined to be the 8 seed and destined to have DJ Augustine play well in a Game 1 win before getting gentleman swept the rest of the way. So that's Nikola Vucevic's playoff career. He's been there 3 times. Hasn't been in 6 years. 2020. Actually, that's not true. He was there in 2022. I'm overlooking his Bulls trip to the playoffs when he was probably also an 8 seed. I'm checking that right now. Oh, no, they were 6 seed.
What?
6 seed in 2022. Lost to the Bucks team that then took the Celtics to 7 games. I don't remember the Bulls as a 6 seed, but yeah, that must have been when Lonzo Ball and those guys were Caruso. They were healthy for like a few months and then tailed way off.
Right.
And then got smoked by the Bucks. So Vucevic, don't think he's ever played out of the first round. Even when his team went to the second round, don't think he played at all. So he's going to be learning on the fly. Nemi is going to be learning on the fly. Did he play at all last year in the playoffs? I genuinely don't remember any Nemi minutes, but it's possible that he played a little bit.
No, because Kornet got all those minutes. If he was going to play, he was going to play in that Knicks series, and he did not play a meaningful minute in that Knicks series.
Yeah, so everybody is inexperienced, except for the core that has as much playoff experience as anybody. So it's a very strange thing where the Celtics will be finding out things about their roster quite a bit over these next few weeks, maybe a couple months if they go deep. We will see. But I think a lot of these guys can be trusted. And like the wings, the one thing I worry about with the wings is like getting too eager, getting too many fouls. Like Jalen Brunson just up faking, foul baiting a little bit, getting to the line like 14 times in a playoff game, while Hugo Gonzalez is just furious at himself for a foul. Or like Baylor Shireman is just furious at himself. Jordan Walsh. That would be one of my concerns for the wings. The other is that the shots just go missing. And Shireman has been very consistent shooting the basketball this year. But can he do it in the bright lights? We'll see. I don't think any of those guys shy away from the moment, though, which should be helpful.
I agree with that. I want to ask you about one of those guys specifically, but first, let's hear from our sponsor, Prize Picks. The playoff push is heating up, and tournament hoops have been here, and there's no better way to cash in if you're right on the high-flying hoops action than Prize Picks, America's #1 sports pick app. Every bucket, every dime, every win means more when you're playing on Prize Picks. And if they're new, brand new team picks markets, you can now pick game winners, spreads, totals on top of their player picks you already know. So cash in if you're right during all the clutch buckets, dunks, and Cinderellas with team picks on Prize Picks. And so the great thing about Prize Picks, you can pick the winner straight up now. Who's going to win a playoff game? Who's going to win a fight? Back your takes with real money. And also on Prize Picks, you can make the team picks now. So you don't have to do individual games. If you click on team picks, you can even pick who will win the league, MVP, other awards that might come out during the playoffs. And it's just another way to pick the sports you love on Prize Picks. So download the Prize Picks app today and pick your first game winner, spread, or total as the playoff push rolls on, and get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use the code CLNS. That's code CLNS to get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup on Prize Picks. Prize Picks Predict is a registered FCM offering team picks and culture picks as events contracts. Trading involves significant risk, not for all. The content provided is for informational, educational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, a recommendation to trade any commodity interest, or an offer to open an account. PrizePicks is not registered with CFTC or FNA. PrizePicks Predict does not endorse or guarantee any statements made by third-party promoters or influencers. Please consult with a qualified professional before making any trading decisions. All right, Jay. With Shireman in particular right now, has he become almost as trusted as Hauser at this point? Of being like, not that those guys are interchangeable, but it seems like his stock has risen more than anyone on the bench right now. I feel like in terms of even being a candidate to be on the floor in crunch time situations with the rest of the starters, or just play, 20, 25 minutes a night because of what I guess his versatility against certain teams and what he can do defensively.
This is going to be the most bonkers comparison I've ever made in my entire life. He has a chance to be the Celtics' Andrew Nembhard.
Oh.
where he doesn't always have big games, but when he does have big games, you're not surprised. And even when he doesn't have big games, he's helping you. He's taking care of the ball. He's playing defense. He's pushing the pace. He's doing everything you want from him. And then every once in a while, he gets hot and starts talking crap to the opposing bench. And you look up and he's got like 18 to 20 points. And it's like, Shireman did it again. That's a lofty comparison from me because Nembhard has had some big playoff games, big playoff stretches. I think Shireman has just kind of emerged as a very valuable piece for the Celtics. I did not see this coming at all. And there's just something about him that, like, he relishes the bigger moments. It seems like if he catches a ball in a pretty tight game, Celtics down 2. He needs to hit a 3. They're in Madison Square Garden. It's like, Shireman's going to hit that one. And he does. And beyond that, he guards, he rebounds. I believe that Shireman will be trustworthy throughout the playoffs. I believe he'll be part of the playoff rotation the whole way through. And I think he'll have more than the other wings for sure, other than Hauser. He'll have leeway to, like, if he misses shots for a while, it's not going to cost him his spot in the rotation because they believe that he'll knock down shots eventually. Yeah, Shireman, he just keeps doing it. And he just seems to be getting more confident, more comfortable the more he plays. Like, you look at his stats. He shot 38.9% from 3 in 16 games in March. In April, 52.2% from 3. He's just been on a heater lately. And obviously that's pretty low volume. And he's not taking a ton of threes every game. But that's what they want from him. Just be a low usage guy who can keep the ball moving, who can knock down open shots, who can guard and rebound, and he's just solid. Just solid. And sometimes, every once in a while, he's more than solid. Nembhard was probably a lofty comparison. That was probably too much. I need to calm down.
I see where you're going at. I mean, Nembhard has had some unreal performances the last 2 years in the playoffs, but is also is a streaky type of player that you could see from Baylor, and because Baylor's had that in his career, like 2 years, like last season when he just caught fire all of a sudden in March when he emerged out of nowhere and just had some monster games, and now this year he's been honestly just able to sustain that in large stretches for the last 3-4 months of the season.
I'm just so Nembhard in 2024 playoffs averaged 15 and 6. Baylor Shireman's not doing that.
But he's not like what's the per 36 there? If Baylor Shireman was getting the minutes, Nembhard, God, like I don't
per
think
36 he averaged 16 and 6.
Yeah, could Baylor Shireman put 16 points a game? He's going to get 36 minutes. I don't think that's insane.
He ain't getting 6 assists.
He's not getting 6 assists.
Probably not averaging 16 points either. Could he get to 16 points every once in a while? Sure. But my bigger point was that he'll be reliable. He'll be there in the big moments. He'll have memorable moments. And when you're watching, for people who haven't paid attention the whole time, you'd be like, Baylor Shireman's better than I expected. And we won't be thinking that because we've watched him all year, because we've seen how he handles himself in the big moments, because we've seen him live up to that consistently. But I think there will be a lot of people out there who don't tune into the Celtics all the time who will be thinking like, that Baylor Shireman, he ain't bad. He ain't bad.
Might end up being Brad Stevens' best pick if he keeps developing. Like Ugo, obviously, he's got the longer runway in terms of his youth, but Shireman has turned into something as a number 30th pick faster than anyone could have envisioned at this point. So
Shireman's a cool developmental story.
Yeah.
Because he was drafted at, I believe, 23 when he was drafted. And
years old.
23 years old, yeah. And typically, when you draft a 23-year-old, you're hoping he's ready for NBA minutes right away. Baylor Shireman was very clearly not ready for NBA minutes right away. Like, it was kind of a disaster at the beginning of last season and preseason. Then he went to the G League for a while. And he came back last year toward the end of the season. They gave him a chance. It was like, oh, Baylor Shireman's come a long way. And then, this year comes around. He's again out of the rotation at the beginning of the season. Then it's like, oh, he's playing a few minutes here and there. They had him guard like Donovan Mitchell early in the season. It's like, they trust Baylor to do that. But he was still playing like very short stints. And then he just took advantage of those short stints. And then kept doing it. Then it was longer stints. Still solid, still dependable. Kept doing it. Then it was, oh, he's a starter. Kept doing it. Then he got moved back to the bench. Still stayed solid. And so he's just kind of an example of like sometimes the older guys in the draft work out. Sometimes even they're not ready, but he has a story where it's like resiliency has always been one of his strengths. He went to, what was it, South Dakota State? He went to South Dakota State, thrived there for 3 years, 2 years maybe, then transferred to Creighton. He wasn't great at Creighton right away. At South Dakota State, I think he came off the bench his freshman year and just kind of kept getting better and better. Went to Creighton. By the end of his time at Creighton, he was one of the best players in the country. Went to Boston, wasn't great or even good right away, just kept working, and eventually he got there. So it's kind of a cool developmental story where his path, like all the way through, was not what you'd expect from a normal first-round pick. And yet here he is in his second year, and obviously like that he hasn't taken a lot of time to develop into a capable player in the NBA. But it's just like the journey can be very rocky and up and down, and you just have to stay solid through it all. And Shireman's done a great job of doing that. I got sidetracked. I did not expect to spend this much time talking about Baylor Shireman. Let's get into the playoff possibilities. So we're recording this Sunday morning. We expect not much will change in the possible playoff matchups as long as the Raptors beat the Nets. Then
Feel good about that.
The Celtics will be playing either the Orlando Magic or the Philadelphia 76ers in round one. So who would you prefer to see out of those? Who would you, if you were the Celtics, who would you prefer to see out of those teams, B-Rap? I don't think this is a hard question.
Yeah, I would. If Joel Embiid is not going to be available for most of the series, which appears to be the case after his appendicitis, then I think the Sixers are the friendlier matchup. I don't think either of these teams are concerns for the Celtics, but I think it's far and away, from a talent standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, give me the Sixers over the Magic. What say you?
Yeah, so if the 76ers were fully healthy,
That's an interesting question.
I would say you want Orlando.
Yeah.
Because the 76ers, I don't believe in them. I was asked before the Embiid appendicitis stuff. I was asked on the Athletics National podcast who the 76ers, if anybody's nervous of the 76ers, and I said yes. I said Nick Nurse. And that's kind of my feeling on the 76ers. They're like, I said this on that podcast too, they're in the Clippers zone to me, where like I will not be fooled by you anymore. I'm not going to think that the 76ers are going to go on a playoff run because I've seen year after year that they're not capable of it. And so that's my feeling on the 76ers. However, you still have Joel Embiid. You still have Paul George. Tyrese Maxey is a problem now. Super hard to guard. And so if they were fully healthy, you could talk yourself into that's not an easy series. Like Embiid might have one game where he dominates. Maxey might have one game where he goes off. All of a sudden, it's at least a 6-game series, and you're playing against a bunch of guys with significant firepower. But with no Embiid, assuming he can't play, then Philly, you want Philly. In Orlando, I don't believe in Orlando this year. I know they've played like pretty well the last couple weeks, but
They've beaten tanking team. Like that's a fake 5-game winning streak they're on right now.
they've just appeared to be a broken team this year.
Yeah.
They appear to be a team that doesn't love their head coach, that has never figured out how to incorporate Desmond Bane, who I thought would be perfect for them, by the way. And I don't think they're as good as the Orlando team that gave the Celtics some problems last year in the first round. So,
Which
I
is
actually
wild when you
think,
think about their talent level compared to like on paper compared to last year.
yeah, yeah, and part of it is like you were hoping for the shooting leap from Paolo Banchero, and that certainly hasn't come.
Nope.
Like Paolo has just not been fantastic.
About 31% from three.
31% from three. His jump shooting overall has just been really bad. He's one of those guys with like big usage, not a ton of efficiency, and yeah, he got better as the year progressed, I think, but not the Paolo leap that the Magic were hoping for, certainly. That said, the Celtics saw and they felt like what the Magic could be and the physicality that they play with that could be an issue in a playoff series. You know, I think the Celtics came out of that playoff series just kind of beaten up a little bit. Tatum had the wrist thing. Jalen was kind of hobbled going into the playoffs in general, but that series was like very physically demanding. And maybe the Magic can give problems to you by like beating you up a little bit. But I don't think the Magic are super capable of pulling off a first round upset this year. Just because they've been broken all year.
Yeah, that like you don't figure it out in the playoffs if you're a team like the Magic. And
Yeah.
that's more of like a team like how quickly can the Celtics get them to fold in the series? And because like you said, this is a team that seems to be destined for a new coach. Maybe big changes in personnel at the top, depending on how the front office is assessing their younger core. But yeah, this is, and I do think also with them, with the physicality you talked about, are the Celtics just better positioned, better depth wise, like to handle that this year with their with this type of personnel?
Maybe. Yeah, because they can. I mean, they're not going to get beat on the glass, the Celtics, I don't think, by basically anybody. Like, they're now third in overall rebound rate in the entire league.
They have to take a
The
monster
only
like
team-
Mitchell Robinson to do it. Like if they're gonna get beat on the glass.
Yeah, like maybe the Pistons could beat them on the glass because they're
Right.
huge everywhere. In Orlando, like they're pretty good on the glass, but I don't think anyone's going to just like crush the Celtics on the glass this year. Whereas last year, they weren't as good offensive rebounding. Yeah, so maybe, but also like the young, energetic teams can give you problems, and I think the Magic can be that. But their defense just isn't nearly as good as it used to be. They're 14th in defensive rating.
Wild.
Last year they were like second, maybe. So this isn't the same team that the Celtics played against, and they've had like a big drop off in defensive production this year. Is that because they're broken? I don't know. Is that because Bane is smaller guard and is just kind of? I don't claim to know everything about the Magic's inner working, but they certainly aren't the same defensive team. So I think more so than the Celtics are better equipped to handle that physicality, I think the Magic are less equipped to take you into like a knockdown, drag it out series, which is sort of what last year's was.
It's a crystal clear example of how much things can change year to year in the NBA. And just because everyone's young, you expect them to improve, progress. You throw in a guy like Desmond Bane, you think, all right, this is the Orlando they were going to be one of the top. They're probably going to be the team in the top 4 that most people that the Celtics ended up being this year, like in terms of where people thought Orlando would be in the Eastern Conference after their offseason. But it's not a linear progression for young guys, and chemistry matters. And that you look at a team like Indiana last year was a special group with a special season. Like, in Orlando, again, thought they could maybe turn into something like that when they add some firepower and Bane to it, but it's going in the other direction, and it's more of like, oh, was that just like not a fluke last year, Orlando went, but just like they are what they are. Like they've hit a ceiling for some of their guys, and now will this be the beginning of the end for this core as Korean composed? The Celtics might end up having a sizable say in that, depending on how this shakes out.
I think the Celtics got a little lucky because the Hornets dropped out of the 7-8 playing game. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think the Hornets would have beaten the Celtics. But they are more capable than the Magic, or if Joel Embiid doesn't play, the 76ers.
They can shoot, and the other two teams, Sixers and Magic, pretty much can't consistently.
Yeah. So the Hornets, I think, and then the Hornet, like, there were monsters on the glass. LaMelo can get really hot. Concaniple's a great shooter. Brandon Miller can beat you from outside. He's smooth. They just have a lot of different guys who can beat you. And
the Charles Lee factor as a rogue agent.
And the Charles Lee factor. He spent 1 year in the Joe Mazzulla factory and emerged as a killer. No, so
but he would probably know how do we bother Brown and Tatum? He knows that better than most coaches. Does that matter? Would that actually have an impact? Probably not, because those guys have seen everything at this point. But it would have been a fun layer to a series, a 7-game series.
It will not be a fun layer to a series because the Hornets, unless they make the Eastern Conference Finals, will not be playing the Celtics this season in the playoffs. It will likely be either the 76ers or Magic as we're recording this. By the time you listen to this, we'll know exactly who's in it. If the Raptors are in it, shame on them. Shame on them. That means they lost to the Nets while they were fully tanking. Shame on them. Truly shame on them. They have to beat the Nets in a must-win game to claim the 6th seed. If they don't,
that's a must-lose game for the Nets. Forget about the Raptors. It's a must-lose game for the Nets. The Nets are still trying to get the 2 spot in the lottery.
Yeah, so there are a lot of reasons why the Raptors will not lose that. If they do, again, shame on them. Whatever happens, we'll be here every day, Monday through Friday. Sign up to listen to every podcast, patreon.com/stillpotable. Otherwise, we'll be here on the CLNS network 2 times per week. Buckle up. Playoffs are coming. Sign up. We'll be here all along the way. We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Still Potable, Still Potable. The Boston Celtics Still Potable, Still Potable.